Everybody ready? All right.
I think we're on the air.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I think we're ready right now. All right, everybody. Welcome. I really appreciate everybody being here to the Soundbroker Mastermind Roundtable. Of course, if you've never been here before, this is your first time. And the whole concept of our roundtable is to get like minds together so that we could figure out how to survive these tough COVID times so that we're here when things go back to normal. And today we've got a really packed show. So we've got Larry Italia from Vice President of D&B. We've got Chris Prozio from Disguise. We've got Brad Nelms from We Make Events. We have Raoul Gonzalez. Raul is somewhere in the room as well, I believe. We have. Somebody has their microphone on. We just shut that off. That's okay. And let's see, Jay Waller from StagePro, from Apex. And who have I left out? Robert Scoville, of course, ladies and gentlemen, from Avid. And so I think we've got everybody covered. So to start off today, normally we would just chit chat a little bit, but today I'd like to give it to Brad Nelms. Brad's going to take the time and tell us what happened with We Make Events and the Restart program. So Brad, please take it away.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for having me on. Hi to everybody. Some of you, this might be some repeat info if you've heard it elsewhere, but for those of you that it's not, happy to share an update. So as I think everybody knows at this point, on September 1st, we had a great Red Alert Restart event where we lit up a whole bunch of stuff. That was very successful. We had a goal of about 1,500 buildings following the UK effort, which lit 700. And we've officially cleared 2,000 with what we were able to light, and we think it was actually far beyond that, closer to 3,000 or 3,500 with what we don't know about. So it was incredibly successful in terms of making noise. As far as the functional aspect of what we're trying to do with that, and the reason that we did everything is to push Congress to pass the Restart Act and to extend and expand PUA and FPUC for those that are unemployed. We're making good progress on that. Of course, it's all politics, but we are pushing, I believe, the right buttons. So as of today, through our website, wemakeevents.org, we have written 13,452 letters, and several of our supporting websites also have tools on them to write your congressional leadership local to you just with a couple of clicks. So those have seen an uptick in traffic as well. So I don't have an exact number that are resultant from the event, but it's certainly a fair amount, and we've gotten good traffic. We are continuing the push. And one of the things that's coming up now, since we're coming kind of down to the wire, is a push on the small business legislative teams, as well as, of course, continuing to push on every single local representative and senator of your own. So please use tools on our website, on somebody else's website, reach out to them directly, phone, email, handwritten letter, knock on the door, whatever you can do to find them. For any of you who are not on Michael Strickland's email, he is the founder and chair of Bandit Lights, and he is our sort of North Star in terms of the government actions for this event. So he is in constant and direct contact with many government leaders. And he just actually gave us an update on another Zoom call shortly before this that talks about the fact that essentially what you're hearing in the news and what you see the happenings in Congress, they are almost entirely political posturing. So we're following what he believes and what the political leaders that he's talking with believe to be the path to success, which means that if we continue our push of writing letters and outreach, that we hopefully can get somewhere with this, and that there will be a relief bill that is passed before Congress is out of session. And if everything goes in the direction that we hope, that will include language from the Restart Act and PUA and FPUC for everyone. So that's kind of the broad overview. Happy to field any questions if anybody has anything specific, or Jan, if you wanted me to go into more detail on any sort of more detailed items.
Well, I think that basically, if we have any quick questions, we can get to it. So, does anybody have any questions for Brad right now? Ken Newman.
I just want to restate the last part of what you said, Brad. I mean, make sure I got it right. So it sounds like all what we're hearing in the media is political posturing, and the real story is the Restart Act is not dead in the water yet. It still has a chance of passing. Is that right?
That's correct. And our information is coming from sort of closed doors conversations that are happening behind the scenes directly with those Congress people. So the Restart Act is not dead by any means. There is an ask that's out there in the immediate, which is being put forth by Michael Strickland and NAM to pass Restart as a clean bill. The likelihood that that happens is probably pretty slim, but pushing for that ask will keep it in front of them while they're going through all this posturing. What is likely to happen is that there will be a comprehensive relief bill, and that will include at least the bulk of Restart, is what we're being told and what we can hope for at this point.
That's excellent. That's excellent. That's everybody in this room actually participated in it as well, and it was international in scope, and I think that it's really moving along. As you mentioned, Michael Strickland sent an email that was pretty cool, and basically we were doing a NAM call to action where you would send a letter to your Congress. I will throw that information into the chat so that you can, and it's really quick. You just click on the link and boom, you're up there, and you're sending a letter out. You just have to put your name, your phone number, and your address, and it goes right out. So it's good. It's a NAM call to action, and it's I can't recommend it high enough that we keep the pressure on our Congress people for this. All right.
Absolutely.
So
anything that we can, social media, letters, calls, in person, anything you can do to push them to pay attention and to maneuver is our best bet at this point.
yeah, that's good. Great. And I want to thank you very much for thank you very, very much for the update on this. We really appreciate what you've done. I'm speaking for everybody, I hope. But I'm personally, Brad, I think you've done an amazing job with all the people that have volunteered to doing this. I think it's really spectacular. And I thank you so much for that. Anybody else have any questions for Brad? Okay. If we do, Brad's going to stick around for a little while. I think he might have another meeting, but hey, it's nice to have him. So basically, today's meeting is about manufacturers and how they will interface with us, the tips and tricks, and how to help us survive these tough times and what they're doing. And I look at it like this. This is how we are right now. It's like we're on a roller coaster ride, right? And we're in, and the roller coaster is moving, right? And as we're getting to the top, we realize that the tracks below are a little bit wobbly. And now we get to the top and we're starting to head down. And the only thing we could do is throw up our arms and go, whee! And we're in for the ride. So with that, we're going to start off with Larry Italia from D&B. So Larry, take it away.
Whee! Hey guys, thanks for inviting me today. Maybe just a quick update on how things are going at D&B through all of this. I assume you all are familiar with our company. We've been fortunate, frankly speaking. In Germany, where the majority of our staff are, you have something in Germany from the German government called Kurzarbeit. Excuse my pronunciation, I don't speak German yet, anyway. And this is a government program, also called short-time work. And so the German government will come in and subsidize a very significant portion of the employee's compensation. They can work on a part-time basis for the company, and it allows everybody basically to stay on board, and we don't have to do any layoffs. We've been very fortunate so far. We've done no layoffs so far through this whole thing anywhere in the world in any of the subsidiaries. Here in the US, we also got lucky. Our main office and our warehouse is in Asheville, North Carolina. And as we all know, everybody's fending for themselves here as we have no national program. So state by state, county by county, city by city is how it goes. And in Asheville, we were never obliged to shut down to the point where we could not ship anymore from the warehouse. So we've been in business every day. Send me over your POs this afternoon and we'll get it out to you tomorrow. And so we were lucky there. All of the, all the office types, of course, have been working from home. We also have a facility out here in California, in Signal Hill and Long Beach. Of course, the lockdown is tougher in California, but we're kind of coming back. We've been starting to do some demos in both facilities. We have training facility demo rooms in both facilities, and so we've been doing some stuff there. Guys have been getting back on planes and going out and commissioning systems and doing demos and things like that. Of course, we're nowhere near normal, but we're doing business, and so we'll just have to play it out like all the rest of us and wait to see what happens here. I would say that here, most of the folks I see here are production side folk, primarily anyway. And of course, that's been the tougher part of the business. And yeah, Tom, I see your question, which is just where I was going. Thanks for the segue. Most of the business, the overwhelming part of the business right now for us, of course, is install. And we were also fortunate that a couple of years ago, I think a number of you guys have known me for a long time. I've only been with D&B the last couple of years. One of the changes I made when I came in was a change in go-to-market, and we expanded our integrator distribution channel very significantly. And that ended up being a rather fortuitous move on our part. I love it when I'm right. I confess I didn't see this coming, but anyway, that's what's basically keeping the lights on right now. We're doing very little on the mobile side, and I would say that that's a fair characterization globally, also. So that's kind of where we're at in a nutshell. Questions?
Very good.
Comments?
You know what, if it was okay with you, Larry, what I'd like to assume we have 5 people that I would like to give each one 5, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Everybody.
Sorry to-
If that's okay with you, that's what we'll do. So the next person I'd like to
I'm good.
introduce, and do you have anything else you want to say before I introduce our next guest?
No, I'm looking forward to the introduction of our next guest.
Our next guest is going to be Robert Scovill. Robert Scovill, of course, is representing Avid today and probably every day except for 1 week in the month. Does whatever he has to do with his family. So, Robert, why don't you take for about 5 minutes and let's see what we got going on.
Man, I'm going after Larry, huh? Whew, this is tall order here. I'll start off just by saying thanks for the invite to this. I'm thrilled to be in this crowd of guys for sure. So thank you for inviting me in to participate in this. I'll do similar to Larry here. I'll kind of give you a little State of the Union, at Avid, and I'll even kind of branch off into Avid Live Sound. I mean, we kind of got to parse those two things a little differently right now because of the state of the industry. But kind of long story short here, and I would love to tell you this was all strategic planning. We knew this was all coming. It's just fate, it's just happenstance. But it's not lost on anyone that Avid over the past, you count the years, has been pushing the home recording initiative, right? They build your studio at home, work at home, blah 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 blah. And in the past 10 years, let's say, sorry, the dogs definitely agree with that theory. In the last 10 years, they've been very deeply immersed in building cloud collaboration for that kind of thing as well. So now, once that's all done, here comes the pandemic. So now it was almost like it was just perfectly suited to move to that sort of thing. So they laid an incredible amount of groundwork to be ironically ready for a moment just like this. And that piece of the company, meaning video, Pro Tools recording, home recording, studio recording, etc., is doing exceptionally well right now. I mean, it is they're doing gangbusters right now. If you check our profitability for the last couple of quarters, you would see that it's just hanging in there really, really great. Now, the outlier of that obviously is live sound, with S6L and all of that business. And of course, that business has ground down very, very far. It's certainly stronger in certain pockets of the world than other parts of the world. Surprisingly, to no one less than me, no one was more surprised about this than me. We are still doing business in live sound in parts of the world, including the United States. We had a pretty healthy pipeline built up to begin with, and are still shipping, etc. And our R&D is marching forward without question, without hesitation. Some of the things may have been pushed off a little bit for a rejigger of some human resources inside the company, but live sound R&D is carrying on, and we have some considerable releases on the docks getting ready to go here pretty soon. So things are moving forward there. Now, of course, it's all a matter of time. The longer this stretches out, the harder it is to maintain that. In terms of the internal staffing, Avid was fortunate enough, and I was fortunate enough for them to move to a rolling furlough where, I take 1 week of furlough every month. And that just kind of rolls out to, the portion of the year is 12 weeks of furlough. Whether that's going to continue on, I don't know. That's all down to the company. Obviously, the longer that stretches out, the harder it is to do that. If income and revenue stays down in live sound, the longer that goes, the harsher the reality will be there. Internally, I would leave you with this. Internally, again, who knows whether it's foresight or what, but Avid has been moving to this model of remote employees for many years now. They've been downgrading buildings, moving people remotely, because we can do so much of it, so much of our work remotely now, as opposed to having to go to the office. And this has reemphasized that there is additional movement to only have absolutely necessary employees on site at a headquarters to do work like testing and R&D, et cetera. But even a lot of that has moved off site. So this has created a big adjustment for them, but they seem to be handling it pretty well. I feel very fortunate to be working with a company that is as diverse as they are right now. I can't imagine what it's like visually, and I'm glad to hear Larry go first here. I can't imagine what it's like to work on a live sound centric company right now and have a look at the outlook going forward. It's just too undetermined right now, So that's me.
Okay, very good. Very, very good. The next person that I'd like to feature right now is Jay Waller, Jay from StagePro and Apex Stage. So Jay, why don't you talk to everybody give us 5 minutes, and then we're going to go next to Chris Prozio.
Well, I didn't prepare a full 5 minutes, but I'll see if I can stretch it a little bit. All right?
Oh, I'm sure you can.
I'm representing basically as Apex Stages. The State of the Union, as Robert called it, is actually doing really well. In the rental market, which I'm also involved with on a separate company, the only thing that has consistently gone out of our shop in the last 3 or 4 months are small hydraulic stages. By nature, the hydraulic stages for graduation ceremonies, church events, even things like dance recitals. A local dance cheer team can't perform in their gym, but they want to perform for the parents. They do it out in a park. Those types of events. And the other thing is most of the promoters now are trying real hard to not bring in labor for social distancing, amount of people reasons. They are looking for production companies to build smaller events, but do it all self-contained. Well, the small hydraulic stages are perfect for that. I mean, you can go out and build a stage and roof system in, half hour with 2-3 guys, right? You can do it internal with your own staff, so you don't have to mingle with other people. I guess the result is the demand for the small hydraulic stages is actually going up. Sales have maintained pretty well. All orders that we had prior to this season have been picked up. Nobody's backed out. The orders are continuing. It's a little iffy on how the orders will go over the winter. That hasn't really manifested itself yet. It seems that the problems we do run into is a lack of banking ability for our clients. It seems like most banks are taking the approach of, yeah, you're a good client, but we're not going to loan you money until your industry starts working again. And so we're working on a few alternative plans at Apex to make it so that there can be some purchases and keep the product flowing with kind of like a rental type, a long-term rental plan. And we're looking at some different options there to try to kind of, help the customer get the product. Because what we're seeing going into next spring is that the first events that live production will do will be outdoors, and they'll start with community specific type events where you can go to, North Platte, Nebraska, and do a country festival, a country show. And the people that are at the show are the same people that were at the football game on Friday night and at the same Walmart. It's not people coming from out of area. So those type of events, I think, will be the first thing that are coming back. At least that's the impression everybody's getting. So the demand for our clients is, if you just have sound or just have lights or whatever, if you don't have an alliance with somebody that has a stage, or if you don't have a stage, you're kind of going to start much slower and have a harder time getting work. So our demand is actually there, and it's good. We're feeling real good about it. We kind of stopped R&D when COVID hit on the next generation of stages. We kind of put the pause on that, but that is all going back into full speed now. Now, as we project forward, we see that as the events get larger, but still outdoors I think everybody feels it's gonna be safer to start outdoors than it is indoors. So we feel like that'll be, for us, a benefit. And so we're gonna try to have the next generation large stages out on the market, hopefully by next summer. Probably a little optimistic because there's a lot to, putting together all the engineering and fabrication on one of those big ones. But the State of the Union for us is actually surprisingly good.
That's very excellent. And I know that, from my standpoint of view, most people are calling me these days about stages. And of course, I work closely with Jay. The next person I'd like to introduce is Chris Prozio. Now, Chris, you guys might know 3D, which is from video mapping, but Chris they changed the name to the company to disguise. And Chris, why don't you take it away?
There we go. I'm unmuted, right? You all can hear me?
Yes.
Great. It's hard to say because I can't see my mouth moving. So Disguise do a little bit of a State of the Union. Back in March, like everyone else, Disguise took a fairly big hit. The majority of our business was in the live events and touring market. Fortunately, we had some work going on in the background for what we call XR, or extended reality, which utilizes our servers and utilizes the render node. And I'm going to show you guys a couple of things as part of mine, but we've been able to weather this through. We had some layoffs, we've had some furloughs, but we're coming back on the backside of this with two aspects. Our broadcast and film side with XR is coming up. The other thing we're seeing is that this technology is pushing its way into corporate as well. We have a couple of large Fortune 500 companies building these XR stages, which I'm going to show you in their facilities. And we have a number of larger companies that are taking their hybrid events and making it a little more compelling than just someone standing on a stage with a PowerPoint. If you can, Jan, can you let me share the screen? There we go.
It's turned on. You can.
Got it. So let's see here. We're going to share that. So what I'm going to show you right here, this is just a very simple application. And it deals with what we call our stage extension. So as he comes up on stage, we turn it on and we can create an entire environment. I mean, this thing is literally set up in a broom closet. And this doesn't have to be just these kind of graphics. This can be PowerPoint. This can be foreground, what we call augmented reality. Very simple setup, very small amount of LED, very approachable. So what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to stop sharing this screen because y'all, here we go. I'm going to walk you up here. So hopefully we don't vomit with my camera work. But I happen to be in our LA shop. I happen to be here doing some demos. And can we flip this camera? Yes. This is an actual XR stage. And I'm going to come back here behind the camera, and you can see as I move this image, the content moves with what we're doing. And then if we come over here to compositing, it's kind of hard to see. But if I do this, you can see that image as I come up here to the edge of the screen. My hand disappears because this is the stage extension. So, I don't want to bore you with all the technology. I just wanted to show you a little bit about what we're doing here. This is where our future is. We believe that there's going to be more hybrid events coming on the backside of this. The fact of the matter is, if you're doing an event which was just some guy developing PowerPoint or delivering PowerPoint in a hotel ballroom, that meeting's not coming back. At least that's not my opinion. And we're going to have to adjust as a industry to being able to do this type of hybrid technology, but doing so, making a compelling message. And that's where we're positioning Disguise moving forward. We'll pick up with events when they start to come back. Who knows when that is? Is that the middle of next year? Is that the end of next year? But until then, we're adjusting and doing virtual.
Very cool. Very, very cool. That was a really nice presentation. And I was surprised. And I'm sure now everybody else who was presenting saying, damn, why didn't I do something like that? Well, anyway.
It's only because I was lucky enough to be down here working. And I will say that's very fortunate that I landed with a company, kept me on during all of this. And we're lucky enough to be doing demos this week, despite the mask.
Well, I'm sure people have questions for you. And but the next person I want to introduce is Raoul Gonzalez. I'm sure everybody knows him. He's the senior specialist of audio applications for HARMAN Group. So Raoul, say hi and tell people what you want them to know.
Good afternoon, Jan. Thanks. Sorry for the delay. And I hope everybody's doing well. So great to see good old friends. How you doing, Jay and Robert and everybody else? It's a good time. As you can imagine, obviously, we're not impervious to any of the effects of this current situation. We're doing well, like many other, manufacturers. We have gone through, layoffs and change of schedules. We are all working from home. Our product development teams obviously have continued to work through this process. We have manufacturing spread over multiple locations. So different locations for us were affected at different times, whether it was China, Mexico, the US, so forth. As you can imagine, the sale of the production performance type systems, completely minimized unless they were going into some permanent installation projects, which were already in progress when this virus took effect. So we have continued to support all of those install projects that are still taking place right now. Our vertical market related to portable products, anything related to in-home, working from home kind of products, recording systems, USB microphones or monitor studio types things, whether you're looking at headphones or anything like that, that business of course has grown tremendously. So it's given us the ability to actually weather through. We are going to continue, most of us working from home, not going back to an actual office probably through the end of the year. We thought that things would change in September, but headquarters in Texas and California, things are not exactly where we thought we would be. And so we're going to continue at the moment working from home. Plenty of inventory at the moment, obviously. Things change on a day-by-day basis depending on whether or not manufacturing can operate. We had to actually shut down some manufacturing in Mexico for a while, given the national regulations there. Obviously, China got through it pretty quickly, and we were able to get on the other side of that pretty quickly. But otherwise, our people are doing well. Everybody is safe. We've, very few people got sick. We've had a very supportive team in management, and just trying to get through it, supporting our clients as they need us.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Well, those are our featured guests, and now we have the panel. And so I'm sure there are plenty of people that have plenty of questions. And so why don't we open up to the room? Who would like to go first? Ken Porter, did I see your hand go up? Was that your hand? Oh, there you go.
Not really, but I will. First off, Chris, the system that you have, is that what they use on the Mandalorian shoot?
No, it's similar. So ILM built their own system utilizing Unreal and what's called End Display. Where Disguise fits in this is we democratize that workflow. ILM had 30 software engineers on set doing the Mandalorian. And if you've got that type of budget, God love you, go for it, build your own rig. For those of us that need a more robust system that's got a repeatable outcome, that's where Disguise comes in. So we replace what's called End Display with the tried and true Disguise server. We add a rendering node, which allows us to bring in Unreal content. That's what was showing up there, or content from Unity or from Notch. Through the system, we use a high-speed bus to allow that to work. It's similar to what they did with Mandalorian. It's not, but it's the same concept in that you have a gaming engine with photorealistic content, with a camera on a tracking system, all of them working together in an environment, highly regulated environment that allows that system to work.
Okay.
Tom Source, do you have a question? Or Ken, did you have a follow-up?
Well, I have another one. If you want to do it, or let someone else go, and I'll come back to it.
Nah, well, you got it. We got you.
Okay.
That's a good question.
So, Larry, in 2007, 2008, when we had a economy drop down it was hit more in Asia more than it hit here, stronger in Asia. I realized some of the companies cut R&D budgets and stuff there. They're like, if you think about Yamaha, that's why I posed it to Larry, I don't know what he can say, but it seems that Yamaha cut their budget in R&D in that it took them forever to get replacements for 1D and 5D and stuff there, and they lost market shares because of that. Is their plans, of manufacturers, has anyone followed what Yamaha did back then or whatever there? Are we staying on top of technology since we're a technology-driven, asset-laden rental services business? How are we doing? As technology drives everything, the turnover stuff.
I can't speak for the rest of the panels, but on our team, we had a few team members that we had to shave, but we maintained our development team all the way through this because we recognize there's going to be an end to this, and we've got to be on our stick to be able to move on and move forward.
Thank you, Chris. Larry, you want to take that question as well? As a matter of fact, why don't we go around, Larry, then why doesn't Raul answer that as well? And I think Jay as well. So why don't we do it like that? Larry?
Hi, Ken. Sure, I can talk about anything about Yamaha now. But in the interest of time and America being such a litigious society, quick, short answer, Ken. Actually, what happened at Yamaha is not what you say. It's true that there was a long time between those products, but not for the reason that you think. And we could talk about that sometime. But speaking for D&B, no, we haven't rolled off the R&D at all. And I think I would just kind of echo what Chris just said, which is that this is an opportune time to get things going and be positioned for coming out the backside. Now, I would say that we looked at what was in development and what was on the product plan, and is that really a priority now, or is something else a priority now? So, for instance, the movement from our revenue moving from mobile to install more directly certainly influenced the triaging of what's in development and what's on the product plan. But the part-time work that's going on in Germany is, primarily factory folk. We're not shipping like we were. We don't need, we only got so much warehouse space. We can't just keep producing at the same rates, right? So we haven't backed off on R&D, and I think that would be the last thing that would get cut here, is something we're going to get cut.
Well, thank you, Larry, and I also want to thank you before we go to Robert on this. I want to thank you for giving us some suspense for our next show, what happened at Yamaha. So tune in next week as we try to get. Well, it might not be next week. All right, Robert, why don't you take up that question?
Yeah, R&D is an interesting thing at companies of these sizes. I know our R&D plans and our R&D budgets are built, way far in advance. So, even with this downturn, we're still living in those initial R&D budgets. So we are still going, full steam ahead in terms of development. And especially for publicly traded companies, it's always that challenge of, in terms of revenue, they work quarter to quarter to quarter. Well, innovation doesn't happen quarter to quarter. Innovation happens over a period of years. And if you're going to dedicate to innovation, you're going to put those budgets in place to last for years. But as I said, with something like this, as unique as this downturn where we came to a complete halt, it's a race against time. Revenue is the validation of your R&D. As somebody famously put it to me once, we're not in the business of making cool shit. We're in the business of selling cool shit. So, it doesn't matter how much cool stuff you make. You got to be able to sell it to support that company and keep it moving forward. So, our long story short, R&D budgets are still in place. We still are going great guns in live sound R&D, and have a lot of stuff planned for the future. But again, go far enough out on the timeline. If we never sell another piece of gear, that will come to a halt at some point. It's just logic and simple math.
Well, the kind of follow-up to that is how do you launch a product during a pandemic?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And if I had an answer for you, I would be a overpaid, really smart man right now. It's just a dance because, the customer base is sitting on his hands. So yeah.
Didn't Yamaha do that?
Yep. They're trying to.
Yeah. You got to be really, really pragmatic with it. Nobody's got money to spend. Nobody's making money. So you have to time it. I would tell you, as much as I can tell you, is there are products that we have on the roadmap that we have pushed out a little bit in that kind of just bet against time. It's like, okay, are we bullish enough to say it is going to get back to play at some point, and what are going to be the market pressures to keep people from buying? So it is a challenge. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No precedent for it. That's for sure.
That would be for installs.
Okay.
Sorry, you cut out there, Ken. Could you say that again?
It'd be more the product SKU for installs, because I've had several people buy 338s, but it's all been installs.
Yeah. I would say for our end of it, certainly the majority of our pipeline that has gone to fruition has been installs, fixed installs that, they were projects that were long in the tooth. So,
Are there any changes that you see going on at Avid that you might want to share with us, or anything like that, in regards to what's going on with the situation we're in right now?
No real changes. Like I said, a lot of the changes had been made that kind of just fell into place with this pandemic in terms of staff, et cetera. Remote employees, all of that has already been kind of put into place and been working for a long time. So I would just tell you from a personal level, my day to day has hardly changed at all compared to what we were doing pre-pandemic. If anything, it's more focused, and there are more tasks involved in it now than there was pre-pandemic. So, I know that's an outlier, it's not normal, but it's not like this big shift had to take place at Avid and then all the employees were working like that all of a sudden. That was already in play for us. That part of it hasn't really disrupted anything in the company, probably short of R&D and testing, that requires you to be on site around a lot of gear, et cetera. So much of that employee base at the company is remote already, that was the only place that really took the hits in terms of, oh my gosh, we got to scramble and figure out what we're going to do here to keep testing going.
Robert, has there been any discussion within the company about extending warranties, or because will have over a year that I haven't used my software, haven't put Electron through my console, and that was a year out of a 3-year warranty period.
Yeah, I totally sympathize with you there. And I have to be careful how I talk about this, but believe me, from the Live Sound team, there was a very focused, very concerted effort to say to the company, look, we need to put warranties on hold for a year. Just stop the clock for a year here. It's the right thing to do. We were not able to get it through, but I would say we're not completely out of the water with that yet. I still hold out hope that we will make that right for our customers, but that's a tough challenge. That is, they did not. I should say they. I'm them. We did not make that happen. So.
Yeah, Ken, I'll just jump in real quick. As you know, Ken, we did extend warranties, and so it's good for me to hear your comment. And I would just say to everybody in the group here today that one of the things that I'm looking forward to, or was hoping to get out of today's session, is some input from y'all about what it is that can be done to help you. These kinds of things that Robert was just talking about here. We're not immune to what's going on here, and it's not like I've got big bags of money sitting here under my desk that I can do all this kind of stuff. But just very basic things would be really helpful for us to know. And particularly those of you who are, Lewis, I know, is here, and guys who are and guys who are in the business of selling this stuff. Just basic stuff. What is it? Points, days? What is the thing that's going to help here? I'm not saying we can do it, but if I don't know, then I won't ask for it, So for what it's worth.
I got a question for you, and that's regards seeing you're not keeping the bags of money under your desk. Where are you keeping that bags of money?
They're safe on the island of Sicily, I have some family members.
Just to pick up the big briefcase there, Larry, and say, it's right here. I got it sitting right next to me.
Well, Robert, the fires have been pretty close. There is a lot of stuff piled up right out here by the front door.
It's all Bitcoin.
Anyway.
You want to give the HARMAN what you're thinking about from HARMAN based on what the question was, and then once we do that, we'll go to Tom Source. He's got a question as well. Raul, did I lose you?
Sorry about that, Jen.
Okay.
The famous mute button.
Yes.
So I'd like to echo what Larry and Robert were saying. On our side of things, we haven't, executed any changes to our R&D process. Our engineering teams spread from USA to India to China are still very much in place. Changes we made, personnel-wise, of course, there was personnel reduction. I would say 90% of our audio team has always been working outside the building, so we were already not, like Robert said, we're not traveling. My very small production team is not traveling, of course, but a lot of the design support people were all working from home to begin with. So what we have done is we have, of course, spun our personnel to actually expand the design support team for installations, large installs in theaters and wherever projects that were already taking place. So we're helping them out. And we're also collaborating with the product development team. So this has allowed us to have a closer, relationship with our product development guys and getting all of the right features onto new products that are coming out. We haven't eliminated any product launches. We have been cautious and sensitive to the situation. Like Robert said, it's no point on bringing out a new subwoofer or a new install box when you know that it's not going to go anywhere. So you don't eliminate it. You just kind of figure out when it's the right time, and then maybe you wait for the right project. That it would make sense. We have, however, paid attention to the fact that we do have this other vertical market related to portable products and working from home kind of products. So we have accelerated some of the development and market launch and expanded inventory into those kind of products that are so badly needed and used now by everybody. Everybody now has a pair of headphones and a microphone and whatever else at home, and just ask whoever, Guitar Center, Sweetwater, Full Compass, they just keep flying out the window. So again, product development, I think Robert put it right on the nail. We're here to sell cool shit. This is a revenue, this is not a hobby. But that being said, we have had these budgets and these programs in place. These roadmaps are usually put in place 3 to 5 years ahead of time. So, if this situation continues for the next 3 years, God forbid, then, there will have to be changes. It's not a self-supporting, mechanism. So.
Yeah, definitely so. All right. Let's take a question from Tom Source. Tom?
Hey, fellas. It's good to see you all. And it's good to see you. Everybody looks good and is moving forward in their life. I have two questions. The first question is for Chris with respect to the XR. There was initially rumors flying around in the market that XR was a specific technology owned by a specific company, but it appears to me that there's 2 or 3 different providers of this service. Can you address that? And then my second question is generally for the manufacturing group in here. While I'm not currently attached to any rental company, I believe that coming out of this, rental companies are going to be really lacking in capital for investment in a new product. And I wonder if there's a strategy on you guys' side to address that issue. In speaking with owners and CEOs of several of the different rental companies, they're all on the same map about using the products that they currently have in stock to get themselves back into a positive cash flow position. So Chris, if you don't mind letting me know about the XR thing first. Yeah.
Sure. So as far as XR, it's a terminology, right?
Yeah.
XR is really a culmination of what we call mixed reality and augmented reality. Mm-hmm. There's been some play on people trying to capture that XR and call it, like you said, call it a product. We were somewhat culpable in that as well. But the reality is that XR is being moved forward. I think the biggest way to delineate it is if you see the little X, big R, that's just a overflow of an idea of extended reality. If someone is calling themselves capital X, capital R, they're owning that name. So I've got customers that are actually calling themselves like XR Stage and XR Studios. They're a company. They're not a product. They're, so there's a couple of different ways to go with that. But yeah, it really is, when people start talking XR now, it is really just a general concept of an extended reality. And typically what that is with LED, you can do some XR with green screen, but there's a general push to retire green screen completely, because with this type of environment, the talent can actually see and interact with that content, whereas in green screen, they're pointing at something that they don't know what they're pointing at. So that's what we're going to see moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The second part of your question, Tom?
Yeah. So if while I'm not attached to any specific rental company at this point in time, I have been in communication and dialogue with some of the CEOs and presidents of some of the larger rental companies. And to a person, they are all looking to use their asset base for another year or two to get themselves back into a positive cash flow position after the market, particularly the live market, starts back up. And I'm wondering if any of the manufacturers have a strategy to either assist in that or to understand that the rental companies, particularly large ones, are not going to be in a cash positive position probably for another 2 to 3 years?
I can address part of that. So we've already started. So we actually launched a product during a pandemic, and we have worked with a couple of financial institutions to do touch payments for the first 3 to 6 months, depending on the creditworthiness of the company, and it's based on their history, not on right now, with the idea that we know things are going to pick up in the next 3 to 6 months. So we'll probably hold that program over. I can't speak officially, but we'll probably hold that program over through next year as people kind of come up out of the pandemic, to give them the runway to buy in some of the new product that they need. But I wholeheartedly agree. Most of my customers are not going to be buying product in 2021. They're going to be holding on to what they have and trying to make a buck or three just to get back to an even keel.
Now, gentlemen, one thing that I know that Chris has got a hard stop at 4:00, but there is one question that I have from, and then I'll throw the rest of the question back to the manufacturer guys in the room. But Chris, your product seems to be very timely right now, so that it would be, even during COVID, that's still a product that really needs to be used in this situation. So how can these guys that run these production companies in this room capitalize on making money with you guys?
So we started at the beginning of the pandemic. The key to our product is the software piece. There's a little hardware dongle and then the software. We sold the hardware dongle for half price, and we gave access to a $1,200 software, $1,200 per year software license for free through the month of October. So now to jump into it, we're a little bit on the late side. You've got a little over a month. You can still do that, but that's the first place to start. We do training for free online. The fundamentals course is 6 one-hour classes. That's where you start. And the software itself runs on a standard laptop. You don't need a $20,000 or $120,000 server. You just need your laptop to start working in this environment. And there's a bunch of other tools. I don't want to get into the sales aspect of this. If you guys want a sales pitch, you have my email address. I'm happy to give it. But it is a timely piece right now. And I think this is where we're going to end up going. I think that with this pandemic, we're going to see more and more of a push to hybrid meetings. And those that kind of adjust to this and pick up some type of workflow that makes a more compelling meeting are going to be the ones that can take advantage of it in the next step forward.
Very good. Thank you so much for coming, Chris. I will talk with you shortly. I do appreciate what you've added into to this group. It definitely is exactly the whole concept of what the show is. And so thank you so much. Mike,
Chris, can you put your email in the chat, please?
I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. You'll get it. I promise you'll get it. Okay, Larry, you want to take Tom's question, and then we'll go to Robert, and then Raoul.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Tom.
Hey, brother.
We have an in-house finance program. So we actually have something in the D&B organization. And I think our points are fairly competitive, but it's a strange new world, isn't it? And so I think we're going to have to study some things a little bit. I think that maybe paper that didn't look so good before is going to have to be reconsidered in the new world, and we may need to reconsider our risk aversion with certain clients. I think another thing will be how are they going to manage their money as they come out the backside of this, right? Is financing really viable, or is it leasing that they want to do? And then if they want to do leasing, do they want to stay with traditional CapEx type leases, or maybe they don't have that budget in CapEx and they need an OpEx type of lease option, something like that, right? And so we're looking at all of those things. I don't have anything to announce today, but the other thing that I'm looking at is, of course, from the dealer point of view, and there's no guarantee that they pass through to the end user, but of course, a lot of the sound companies are dealers also. What can we do on terms for them? Maybe to give a little more headroom, stuff like that. That's, if somebody got some ideas, email me, because I'd love to hear them. Because we're trying to think what can we do right now, and what can we do to position ourselves all for when we come out the backside of this. So.
Thank you, Larry. Jay Waller and I were talking, and Jay, of course, with Apex, and I thought Jay had a really good idea of how to assist people in getting into a mobile stage environment. But the one thing that Jay and I were talking about, which is really one of the things that is really a crucial element, and I was speaking with Larry about this earlier, is the labor pool. And that labor pool is really important right now for us. And I want to create a show around that at a later date, but I just want to point that out. Jay, if you remember our conversation regarding what you were thinking of doing with Apex and getting more people into Apex, I think that would be a timely conversation right now.
Yeah, the conversation basically was looking at it. We have quite a few clients that have shown up and they say, we need one. We have sound and lights, but the client or the other company down the road has a stage where you can't get work because they do and we don't. And the need is really there, but the banks just aren't, I've got everybody on hold, at least, a lot of the smaller production companies, with the local banker, everything. I had one customer that actually had over 50% of the money in his hand and even was willing to put up his house. The bank said, you're approved. Everything's great, but we're not going to give you a check. Not until your industry starts working again, right? And so the thought was, since the product, and the one in particular was the 32-foot Apex stage, which you tow behind like a 1-ton pickup. The concept, since it's a titled vehicle, was to set something up like a car lease, where, if a guy bought the stage, his bank payment would have been, $4,500 a month for a 48-month deal, right? But make a payment of like $2,500 a month, but it's just a lease payment and then, like in a 3-year deal, at the end of 3 years, he can either renew it at a cheaper rate since it's not a new product anymore. He can turn it back in just like a car, or he can buy it at its wholesale value at that time. And since it's a titled thing, it's a lot easier to do than I think with some of the other guys with, speaker cabinets and stuff like that are much harder to, hold as collateral and have a lien on and track. And so that's something that we've been looking at Apex, is putting together a plan like that, keeping in mind, we're talking about a much smaller company than some of these other guys, and the amount of product we're talking about and the amount of customers that I would be, or we would try to set this up for over this winter would be, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 customers, right? I mean, it's not, so it's a much smaller scale, but that was the strategy we had to try to give these guys a bridge and, the ability to, compete with the guy down the road that has this product. Because a lot of these smaller companies, if they don't have access to a stage, they can't get the work. And so to them, buying a stage is actually what gets their sound and lighting back to work. And so that was our concept we've been discussing. We haven't launched it yet, but it's definitely been a pretty much a weekly discussion. And addressing the R&D slowdown or full speed that was up a minute ago, I do have to admit, we were working on R&D heavily towards next generation larger stages. When COVID hit, I was kind of given permission to continue with the napkin drawings, but at engineering, which, it starts getting into money expense, that was paused for a while. And now with, kind of a little more information and forethought and what we think the market's going to need when we get back, that has been given a green light to start moving forward again. So, we did take a pause. Hopefully, that it won't, hopefully we'll still be ready with the next generation when the customers are ready for it, is the point.
Well, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody else have anything? Ken Newman?
Yeah, I got a question for Larry since you're here, Larry. And didn't I see a recent blurb about D&B introducing a certified pre-owned plan? And I was wondering what you could tell us about that and what the plan is with that, how much less expensive a certified pre-owned system might be than a new system, and what are the benefits and disadvantages of getting certified pre-owned versus brand new?
Yeah, so the program is that it's only for J boxes. Used J boxes can come back to us either in Germany, and I do have a shop here in the States now to do it. We got it up and running. It took us a little while, but it was a kind of complement to a deal, and so K is the product that we would like to get in the marketplace, of course. And I think particularly with what's going on now, as we all know, the way these things typically get done is you sell the old stuff and get the money and buy the new stuff. We are trying to facilitate that by doing J's for K's. So if you want to trade in J's, then we'll do a discount on the K stuff, and then we turn them around and put them back out in the marketplace with factory warranty from us, et cetera, et cetera. We quote them on system basis, right? So I don't have a line item pricing thing I can give you or something like that. I don't have a price card or list price or something. If you want to do a deal, talk to us. What is it you got? What's exactly in your system, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if you want to jump in, Ken. Ken was kind of very helpful for us to get this going, and Ken was kind of my beta test site for this to see how this would work. And I don't. Do you want to jump in a little bit on it, Ken, or any comments?
Like you go to a Lexus dealer and see certified pre-owned or Mercedes.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
You're buying a top end and trading that, and then turn around. There's people that can't afford, don't buy new, but there's the mom and pop production companies all over the country that have one system, and they need something that would make riders and be acceptable to everybody, and that's the best way how to get to them.
You know, I might add just one thing. I've been doing something like that for about 23 years now. Look at that, and I'm still here.
Well, except for the refurbishment aspect of it, right, Ken?
So when I got involved with the Avid program, when Avid wanted to do the S6L, and their biggest competitor was the Profile, we got involved with that, and it was a very successful program for everybody. And now, of course, the S6L is a household word. So yeah, and plus right now, which brings me to one of the things that I wanted to say, is that one of the things that what I found out with when selling the Profiles was that the parts were very valuable, almost more than the whole concept once the S6L started coming out there. But talking regarding to warranty work, some of the people that I've been talking to, especially on this panel, have already mentioned to me the fact that everything is now got a new 2-year life cycle because of the way things are going. Because if you had, let's just say, one of the things you mentioned was a Grandma, which is a lighting board. You had the Grandma 2, that just got another year or two out of life because you might not want to go out and buy the Grandma 3. And that's the same thing with the Profile right now. Somebody just called me the other day saying, hey, can I get 2 Profile? Mm-hmm. So that is a viable. So the question is Raul, did you mention anything about the warranty, about how whether HARMAN was going to extend the warranty or not?
Yeah, the 3 things to address Tom's question that we're doing. First of all, for any of the dealers that we have that are directly, doing business with us directly as opposed to going through their own bank, we are working directly with any one of our dealers that are in a financial position where they need help with their payments. So our finance team is directly talking to all of our dealers directly in that regard. Number 2, the second is, and I think you mentioned this in a previous call, Jan, was the HARMAN Equipment Finance Program that we have in place, where we're doing 12 to 24 months with 0%, and that's managed by Quail. So that's, that also attracts a lot of venues that we're going to do some installs, as well as small production companies looking to expand their inventory. And then the third thing is we have added a warranty to all of our new amplifier platforms. So we have gone to 6 years now. So that part of it has been some of the measures that we're implementing. We have done the certified pre-owned in years past. We did it with Vertec 89s and 88s. We're not currently doing that model, but January is around the corner, so we have to wait and see how things progress.
Mm-hmm. Well, very good. Well, I think unless there's anybody else that has any questions, just looking around the room, if Ken Porter.
The other point to that too is the two parts is that you got to deal with existing debt, which in the CARES Act there had been the deal in that where there's restructuring a debt where they give them banks directive or whatever to restructure that stuff there. Again, to buying stuff, a lot of the companies are positioning themselves to be operational come the next touring season when they step out, so they're not there. I've been working on the same thing too, is looking at all the options, but the CARES Act does restructure existing debt as far as some of them they've offered is a 1-year interest only and straightening out that and the liabilities and stuff there, how to keep cash flow going through. The other one is the different thing. There still is the EIDL loan, which is the through the SBA, and that one runs, it's 3.25%, but it runs, you can take it out to 30 years, which is like forever. But there's no interest in the first year on that loan. And then there's the Main Street Lending Program.
No payments the first year. There's interest, but no payments.
Okay. And then I just saw that Claire did the Main Street Lending Program, which is basically, they did like $71 million on that. But it runs, that one runs 5 years and it's 3.25 or 3.5, somewhere around there. But that one is no payments the first year and then double interest rates the second year, compounded interest the second year, and then interest plus 15% of the principal, interest plus 15%, so for year 4, interest, and then 70% balloon at the end. But that gets you up moving. But that's, that's the way I do stuff. I don't know if Lewis, how he's finding stuff, but the point is that PPP deals with the operation and the employees, but the other ones, there's programs out that they're offering that gives you stability as far as asset wise and how to do structure.
Cool. Yep, that makes sense. And, there's also local programs. I know I just got a letter from the state of Nevada saying that that they had some opportunities for us if you needed money, but it was, I think it was up to $10,000. So there are local programs and state programs, county programs, depending where you are, for other options to lend yourself some money if that's what you need. Anyway, is there anybody else that has anything that they want to say? Well, I guess, if that's the case, then I just want to thank you all for coming today. It was super informative. Larry, thank you so much. Robert, thank you. All with Raul and Chris Prosio is not here. Jay Waller, my concern right now in the industry is not so much the gear as the people. And that is one thing that I am super concerned about, and I want to do something about that. I don't know what more I can do, but the people that I know that are doing labor pools right now, they are at the point where most of them have had to let people go, so that there's no more crewing services out there. And the challenge that we face on that is that these people need to protect their families and themselves, and they have to go out. And most of the people that I've worked with over the years are really sharp guys. I mean, they've made a decision to go into this business because they love what they're doing. And because of that, usually they're pretty educated. They're self-starters. So any industry would be happy. And somebody mentioned to me today that their wives might not let them want to come back if they're married. That's the case. So we will need to figure out a way how to get the people, which are the most important thing, back in working, and so that they're available to us when we do come back. one thing I noticed, by the way, I was reading today that Broadway is now taking out some seats. So they're going to be opening up some theaters right now. They're going to be spacing it out. So they'll be able to do that. And there's possibility that they're going to do that here in Las Vegas as well. But again, outdoors are where it's at. And Jay, in being in the stage business, if you haven't looked into outdoor stages, you might want to consider that as an opportunity as well. Anybody else? If that's it, then I will thank you all for coming today. I am working on different shows, different opportunities for all of us. But I want to tell you this, I do appreciate you all coming, because without it, I would just be here alone with Kenny and with David, and so I really do appreciate other people here sharing, because it is not the Jan Landy show. I keep saying that. It's not. This is an industry-wide, and I wouldn't go so far as saying it's a support group, but I would go so far to say it's a safe place to share ideas that are valid. And that's what we've accomplished today, for sure. The last thing I'm going to ask you to do is that please spread the word about this so more people get involved. I can only do so much, and I'm at the point right now where I really could use some outside assistance in promoting this. So I thank you all for coming. Remember, you make it happen. Make it happen. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Be healthy, safe, and do the things that make you happy, because you need to be happy as well. It can't all be one thing after another with a lot of pressure. You've got to relieve some of that pressure, and you've got to do something that makes you happy every day, if not more than once a day, as multiple times as you can. So again, thanks for coming. We're going to shut off the recording right now. I'm not kicking anybody out, but I'm just letting you